folks, welcome to our how to turn a giant resin thing. So to start off with this, I'm going to get a setup in here and then we're going to try to get everything done. This is going to be a bit of a nightmare because I forget how to do a couple things, but we'll figure it out. Once we get to the turning part, I will be, I just remembered I'm not mic'd up on this phone. While I'm thinking about it. So, did you guys know that you can support me for not spending a cent by hitting the like button, subscribing, and sharing my videos? Doesn't cost you a cent. Helps the algorithm see me a whole lot more, and it's totally free for you. It just takes 3 clicks. Just wanted to throw that out there. Thanks. Bye. All right. Well, since I can hear myself pretty well, we're gonna start off by getting the setup in this thing to get started with, which is going to be drive spur. This is already in a chuck. Usually you can just tap it in, but it's in a chuck, so why not? What we're going to try to do is cut enough in the bottom of that one to be able to lock it in here so I can eventually get rid of this, but for now that's not an option. And then this one is going to be just a live center. This tip spins freely, which is what allows me to be able to turn this stuff nice and easy. So this is going to be our base. This is going to be our top. I already know what I'm going to do with this, but I'm not telling you guys because that takes some of the fun out of it. If you want, pause down, throw in the comments below what you think it's going to be. And then it's just a matter of lining it up. Ooh, that looks scary. I actually gotta go in and change my gearing a little bit because I don't want to turn this at 650 RPM starting off. This thing's probably close to 6 to 8 pounds. And it doesn't sound like a lot until it starts turning in front of your face and one catch throws it in your face. Yeah. If that sounds like fun to you, well, remind me not to be around you if you're running a lathe. This is as slow as my lathe can run, which is 50 RPM. I'm going to get it up a bit more. Alright. From here, this is where I got to be careful, because I can take it too fast real quick and throw this thing out. So, you know what? The more I'm looking at this, I'm not going to cut this into the bottom because I don't think it's going to, I don't think it's going to work. So, we're just going to lock everything down. You're gonna see me stopping a lot on, especially if you watched the ASMR last week, on retightening everything, because until I get this thing locked in, I'm still not in contact on here, so this can still run free if I go too aggressively in one spot. So yeah. So with that, I'm gonna restart our ASMR. I'm gonna kick this to a time lapse, and then we're gonna get to it. Yes, I'm trying to put this off as long as I can because I am nervous. I haven't done a big resin project in too long. All right. All right. Well, at least I got that locked in there. All right. So, yeah. I don't know how I want to do this. Because part of me wants to just use the ASMR as much as I can. The other part of me isn't sure. Got it. All right. I know what we're going to do. I'm going to edit a little bit of... We're going to use some editing magic, I think. So with this, I'm going to pop it into a time lapse and get everything started. So sorry for the scatterbrained. I think we're good. Alright folks, and we're back. Just took a minute to pause the ASMR video so I can talk with you guys. That was about 2 hours of turning, I think. We'll know for sure when I edit up the ASMR. It's about between an hour and a half, 2 hours. Now we just got to sand this down. I'm just checking for any rough patches, making sure there's no chip out, anything like that, because if there is, this is the stage where it's the easiest to fix it. I'm going to throw a towel down here, and if you guys watch any of my previous lathe videos, I always save my 60 grits for stuff like this when I know I'm going to need it. So on the ASMR, you'll see that I've been spraying it with water. That's called wet. It's a trick called wet sanding. I use a lot for resin and some of the higher grits on wood now, because on wood it helps pop the grain, because the wood has fibers that run through it, kind of like my fingers, like this when they're growing up. If you look down through them, under a microscope, they look like little straws. It's how it moves sap up and down, gets nutrients through the tree. But when we cut it up, when we set it on the side, here's a pen blank. But what will happen is when we turn these and we get them round, those fibers will go from when I cut them laying flat. As soon as it gets wet, they stand up a little bit. So if you pre-wet it and then sand that, because the sanding knocks them down, you pre-wet it again, they're not as long. Hit it again, pre-wet it again, it's not as bad. And it just keeps getting them shorter and shorter and shorter until eventually you cannot feel them. I started doing the pens and stuff because I've been noticing as the pens get wet or you use them a lot, some of my older ones start to not feel as good as when they were new. And it's the same trick I use for cutting boards, so I figured what the heck, we'll just add it to the pen rotation, because it doesn't add that much time, especially in the summer. In the winter, I just crank the heat up a little hotter, and I don't complain because I'm warmer and the water dries a little quicker. You don't need a lot, you just need enough to get it moistened up a little bit. But yeah, so we'll just get this nice and wet. And I'm gonna we're gonna turn the lathe down to about 1,000 RPM for this part. Okay, it's 1,300, it's good enough. And just so you guys can see it, so you got to watch through the ASMR. And you guys see that what looks like smoke coming off? I can't tell from here, but that's the resin coming off. And the trick is you just keep your sanding pad as wet as possible and it'll prevent that. So we're gonna go back into the ASMR here now. And we're going to use this heavy grit or the super low grit, which is really rough, to smooth everything out. It's probably going to take 3 or 4 of these pads. And then we're going to go through all the sanding grits on the time lapse, which a standard, sorry, I forgot, I'm not mic'd up for this one, which a standard sanding pack is this thick minus the 60 grit, but for resin, I dropped the last 2 because it gets overlapped with sanding, the micro mesh sanding pads. And this is all stuff we do wet, so I'm gonna be wet now. But this thing's gonna look amazing when we're done. I love the one I made last year. I might take this to the last show I've got of the year, which is December 21st. Hit me up on Facebook for details, or if you're in Ohio but don't have Facebook and want to go, it's in a Kent alpaca farm. I forget the exact details off the top of my head, but if you email me or text me, I can get you the info there. So with that said, we're gonna put this back into time lapse and keep going. All right, folks, so I went ahead and just did everything, wrapped up the ASMR. If you watched the whole thing last week, you'll find I'm really not that happy with how this one came out. The resin is not very clear. There's a couple bugs that got trapped in there. I got some bugs for some of my fish last year, and somehow they got out and started flying around. And I did this in the same room that they were in, and it was right before I realized some of them had gotten loose. So yeah, now they're trapped in there, but hey, could be a whole heck of a lot worse. This was the guinea pig one I made from last year too, so yeah. I think next year what we might do is actually make a few of these to put up for sale if anybody's interested. I'm gonna get a couple different Lego sets as I can find them that are Christmas themed. If anybody's got any suggestions on sets, send me Amazon links. My email's in the description of the channel. And yeah, and when I make them to sell, I am going to get rid of all this too and then buff all this out, but I'm not doing all that by hand for one that I'm going to hang on to. Another thing I might do off camera is drill this out if I can find the big enough drill bit and pop a cork in there. But yeah, so if anybody is interested in ever getting something like this, feel free to hit me up. This one's just got too many issues for me to be willing to sell, but I can always get, something like this will take about a month to get done, because this took, if memory serves right, like 3 or 4 resin pours plus building the Lego set, which didn't take long. And then yeah, I think I've spent about 3 hours or more on my lathe today. I'll know for sure when I get done with the ASMR editing. And even then it still won't be exact because I did a little bit without that running. Not with the actual lathe, but just doing other things. So with that said, I'm gonna say cat in the hat and that be that. Hope you all have a good holidays, Merry Christmas, because I'm not politically correct. And yeah, I got a few ideas for what we're gonna do next year, but not exactly sure yet. Haven't finalized anything, I should say. So if anybody's got anything they want to see, feel free to throw comments down, send me emails, you know, the usual thing. You can also hit me up on Facebook, and yeah, I'll appreciate any and all suggestions. I do know somebody asked me to try a Saturn bowl, and until recently, I just have not had the blanks to try too much bowl turning. Let's get this over my shoulder. That's no longer the case. Found an Amish sawmill that uses that for firewood, so figured what the heck, I'll stop in, and was able to get all that for a steal. So we're gonna be trying that definitely here early on next year. Can't think of anything else I need or wanted to go over, so yeah, just thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing for those who have. Yeah, so I don't know if we're doing a build video the week after this goes out or not. I might just sit and rant for a little bit because I like to do that once in a while. But yeah, so that said, can't remember if I said it yet, so if I haven't, well, if I have, I'm sorry. If I haven't, then cat and that be that. I'll see you guys next time.